gospel lesson today is from Mark chapter 4. On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. And other boats were with him, and a great storm of wind arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care if we perish?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you no faith?" And they were filled with awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even wind and sea obey him?" The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Would you join me in a moment of prayer today? This day. That one thing that pastors fear the most is being forgetful. I forgot I was doing the children's sermon today. Sorry about that. So it resonated with my fear of forgetting something. Let's continue to pray for our kids. So as we go through and continue this season of Lent, we are today I'd like you to look at and consider this question, which is also a song title. How great is our God? How great is our God? It's the song title that is a song by Chris Tomlin. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. Okay, you don't know that one too well, or you need more coffee, I'm thinking. All right, that's okay. So keep that question in your mind as we go through this evaluation and taking a look at this particular miracle of Jesus as we continue through this season of Lent. How great is our God? So we have this scene where the disciples are hopping in a boat and Jesus is with them. And there's a lot going on in this time with the disciples and with Jesus. Jesus' fame is beginning to grow. And he's becoming more and more popular. So every place they go, folks were crowding around them. It's like the paparazzi. They were bringing their sick to Jesus to have them healed. They were listening to his teachings. The disciples had seen him conduct some healings at this point. Now, things in the book of Mark may not be necessarily in the exact order of how things had happened, but we know that they had witnessed some of Jesus' power. They had seen it in action. And so we have these experienced fishermen setting sail on the Sea of Galilee. They're very familiar with how fickle the sea can be, and how from one minute you can go from a dead calm to a crazy storm. And that's exactly what hit them. Now what's interesting is that they have, the gospel writer depicts Jesus as sound asleep in the stern of this boat on a cushion. They make a point of saying that he's asleep on a cushion. Jesus is comfortable. He's finally relaxed. He trusts his fishermen, does he not? Yes, okay. And so he's comfortable, but he's sound asleep. The human side of Jesus is sort of taking over here. He must be exhausted. Things are happening like crazy. You've been there, right? You've had those times in your life where you're like, I just need to catch one more breath. I just can't seem to do one more thing. And so I think Jesus was there. And we all, I think, have done that Nestea plunge into our beds at night as well. And if you're old enough to remember that commercial, you'll laugh here. All right. So we have this scene then, that Jesus and the disciples hop in the boat. That's their mode of transportation to get from one place to the other. And they're out at sea, and they're hit by what appears to be a white squall. Those of you who are sea people, you know what that term means better than I do. As I understand it, it is this sudden storm that kicks up out of nowhere, and suddenly you have white-capped waves. And so that's where the name comes from, this white squall. And so you go from nothing to this incredible pounding storm that came out of nowhere with absolutely no warning. That's what it appears is happening here with this story. And so you've got this white squall that's happening. And the disciples are experienced fishermen. They probably experienced one of these before. But in this case, they feared for their lives because the boat was taking on water and they were afraid that this was it. They were going to die. Now I have to ask you, Jesus criticizes the disciples when, as the scene rolls on, and says, why do you have no faith? Why did you doubt? And I always wonder, if they truly doubted the power of Jesus, why would they have woken him up in the first place? Why bother waking him up if they didn't think there was any hope? They must have had a shred. Sometimes that's all we have as well. It's just that little shred of faith that has us crying out, the same as the disciples, "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" One of the first times I heard a sermon on this text, I was actually in seminary. And in Wesley Seminary, chapel time was Tuesday mornings. And from 11 to 12 on Tuesday mornings at chapel, during that chapel time, the entire campus shuts down in order to allow for all teachers, all students, all staff members, everyone has the opportunity to attend chapel if they choose to. We haven't had that in a long time, have we? Again, those of you who are old enough to remember blue balls, those things have been out of sync for a long time. So things don't shut down on Sunday mornings anymore for us to have our chapel time, but they do in Wesley Seminary. And so everything is shut down. This time, it happened to be it was my second semester, but it was midterm week. Those of you who have college students remember college, you probably remember midterm week, right? It is a stressful time. You have to get into this rhythm of studying and being prepared and giving your absolute best for every class you take. And every teacher expects that you take their class the most serious and you do all the reading for their class. Every teacher has that same understanding, right? Midterm week is a stressful time. Layer on that I was not a young college student going to seminary. This was a second career for me, and I was not alone. About 50 to 60% of the students there were second career students, and so we ain't no 20-somethings anymore. We don't remember what all-nighters are. We're in bed by 9:30, we just, that whole part of our life is gone, And so I'm thrown into this arena that had been totally, I had totally forgotten what it was like to be in school again. And I had been in school. I have a bachelor's degree, I have another master's. I had been through the school thing, but I had sort of forgotten how that rhythm works. And so, stressful time. And if that wasn't enough, I was also a part-time pastor because the only way I could attend seminary was if I was able to earn an income as well. And so I was a part-time pastor. I had funerals that were piling up. I had sermons to prepare every week. And here we are at midterm week, okay? So everything is just, the stress level is over here. And when this teacher, who was also an ordained minister, she got to this part of this story, there was a time when laughter roared through the congregation because it was 90% students that were attending chapel that day. And she said it once, and we all just sort of went along with it. "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" And then she said it again. "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" And that's when the laughter roared through the congregation because we all felt like our teachers were thinking that we're going to perish, or we were thinking we're going to perish because every teacher was taxing us to the max. "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" So when you consider the audience of the first readers of this gospel, consider what they were going through as well. Occupied territory, horrible crimes being committed all around them. People were being crucified daily. It was just a terrible time before the fall of the temple and the occupied territory. It's just an awful time. Do you not think that this audience also would have needed to be able to hear the disciples cry out, "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" Because I think at times we cry that out as well. I think at times we we just get to the point where we feel like there's nothing left, and we cry out, "Teacher, do you not care that I'm perishing here?" One of the platitudes I absolutely cannot stand is the one that says, "Don't worry, God won't give you any more than you can handle." I don't know about you all, but I think I've had plenty more than I can handle. And one of the biggest criticisms of Christianity is that we really can't do anything on our own. We have to depend on God for everything. I don't see that as a weakness at all. I mean, consider how great is our God. And consider that Jesus is in our boat. Jesus is in our boat. And so I have no problem saying, no, I cannot do this on my own. Life can be more than I can handle at times. And so I cry out to Jesus as well, "Teacher, do you not care that we perish?" So the story rolls on. Jesus gets up and he rebukes the wind and says to the sea, "Peace, be still." And from that point on, there was this dead calm. Now, I don't know how white squalls really are, but as I understand it, it takes time before those waves sort of die down. I mean, the storm passes, but it doesn't go from this to this in a moment. It takes some time. But in this case, it's described that the sea went from this tumultuous environment to a sea of glass. There was nothing. It was this dead calm. And Jesus then asked the disciples, "Where's your faith? How is it that you had no faith? Why did you doubt?" It seems a little harsh, I know. And sometimes it does seem harsh, doesn't it? And I think we, as our own proponents of what we're going to believe and whatnot, I think we tend to be our own biggest critics, do we not? And so we're probably beating ourselves up, saying, "Why didn't I believe? Why didn't I just hang on one moment longer?" Trust that Jesus is in your boat. What I love about this understanding, and when we look at the vast greatness of our God, it's not just out here. It's not just the creator of the universe. It's the one who's walking with us through the valley of the shadow of death. I think some of us have been there, have we not? I think we've been there to the point where we're suffering from some kind of loss, some kind of trial that's going on in our lives. We don't know what the next step is. We have no idea where we're headed. And yet, we're not alone. We don't have to be so concerned that God is way out here and that this doesn't matter, because it does. And so it's a both-and situation. How great is our God? Great enough to control the winds and the seas, but also gentle enough to walk with us and hold our hand, just like I was holding Remy's as she walked back to see her mom. How great is our God?
Amen.
All right. Woo. Set things in place that maybe are hindrances. And so I love this little cartoon. I don't know if you can read this, but I thought you can't see the top part, but the sheep is saying, "I wonder why I don't hear the shepherd's voice anymore." Do you see that sheep? He's a little distracted, right? He's got his headphones on, he's comfy in his couch, he's reading his book, he's watching TV, he's doing all that stuff. I wonder why I don't hear the sheep's voice anymore. So perhaps it's a matter of us just refocusing our lives and looking for those barriers that may be hindering us from a closer relationship with God. How great is our God? Amen. Amen.